Georgia wrestling fans, welcome to a special edition Impact Media presents Georgia Wrestling History, the Finalist Reveal Show. We're going to talk about all the people who made the final ballot and all the ways you can find out who wins in about a week or so. But to help me do that, because I definitely couldn't do it on my own, from Georgia Wrestling History, we've got Rob Brodhecker and Duke Ingram. How are you, bud?
Doing
I'm
very
doing
well,
good,
thank you.
Jeremy. How are you?
Doing pretty good. A little tired. Just got in from a show, but luckily that doesn't factor into this because it might change some things.
Right.
But as I said, the three of us are going to go over all the. There was a committee that got together. They decided all the finalists for all the Georgia Wrestling History Awards, and we're going to reveal those finalists to you right now. So if you guys are ready, which one do you guys want to jump into first?
How about best live event?
Best live event. There were a ton. Um,
So,
the what was
go
that?
ahead. Well,
Oh,
go ahead.
I was gonna say the finalists for best live event were One Fall at Summer Stage, uh, Southern Fried Championship Wrestling Shindig, and Viral Pro Wrestling's Infection. What do you guys think about those three?
I mean,
Well,
summer
not being in
stage.
Georgia. Go ahead,
I
Duke.
mean, I was going to say summer stage at center stage. You don't get much bigger than that. I mean, and you have that going against Shindig and the kind of moment that happened there with the power out and everything wrapped in the chicken wire, the cage, and all of that, and that special moment going against that, and then maybe the breakthrough promotion of the year, Viral, and their biggest show of the year. So this is going to be an interesting one. And
Yeah, yeah,
what's really interesting is for the first time in a while, there's no event from Southern Honor on the list.
yeah. Pretty much the one full center stage was a consensus.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone and their third cousin mentioned it, and then with everything going on in Augusta, was keep plugging along, improving, and from everything that has been said and seen, yeah, like Duke said, a breakout year for Viral, resulting in this nomination.
Absolutely, and like you said as well, the Southern Fried Show Shindig. Not only was it a great complete show, but with the power outages and just the random, just weird things that made that such a all inclusive moment. It was one just couldn't be left off the list.
Indeed.
But
So,
go ahead.
uh, how about since we're going to the live event, you want to go into the people who talk about those events? How about the commentators?
We will do that. Let me get through the list here. Do you want to introduce the finalists?
Certainly, for these were instead of doing teams, and because the way everything was written out, we decided to do individual commentators instead of a team. It was just too confusing, so we just simplified as much as possible. So we've got Brandon Benefield for Southern Honor, uh, Georgia, Coastal Empire, and several others. Adam Vance out in Southern Fried, and then Carmen Michaels again. He was everywhere across the state this past year.
Yeah, Brandon has just kind of become synonymous with commentator in Georgia. I feel like he's the standard. He's won that award so many times. But Adam Vance, he carved out his niche. He is the voice of Southern Pride Wrestling. When I watch Southern Pride online, I expect to hear Adam Vance's voice. It's almost like a comfort almost when you watch that show. And Carmen, I mean, I don't know if anybody put in more miles than Carmen did this year. Not in Georgia, but he's all over. He's in Ohio, Alabama, Indiana. So he's really carved out a name for himself.
Yeah, and with
And
Carmen, it's not random one-offs. He is a staple part of every show that he travels to. He don't just go to random shows. And that's a feather in his cap. But yeah, Brandon and Vance for sure. I agree that if you don't get to make their shows, when you tune in to any sort of clip or any sort of video of those shows, you expect to hear those voices because they are synonymous as much as the action.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, they are. And if I can make one quick point real quick.
Yeah.
We had over 470 people through this nomination process. So we got a lot of feedback from across the state, across all the different promotions. And the committee was tasked to narrowing it down. It's always a hard thing to do. And for the most part, we kept it at 3 names, four, even, four for pretty much anything. So, some names had to be left off. It's not to disparage any one person, group, promotion, or whomever. We just had to make the tough choices to narrow it down as much as possible. And, everyone was very cooperative in doing that. Larry usually does the biggest misses post at some point, but we could have put another 4 names onto this list. So we just had to keep it simple, to keep it to 3.
Yeah, and while we're at it, shout out to anybody who has helped with the process of whether it be the committee or anybody that submitted votes. If you had anything to do with anything putting these awards together, we definitely appreciate all the time, effort, and everything you put into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Let's see. Let's go to promo of the year because we had a good many nominations in this one as well. The ones that the committee decided on were Matt Sells from Action Wrestling, Jacob Ashworth from Southern Fried, and Atrocity Cruel from Viral, as well as, this was a category they went to 4 on, Joe Black, and it was actually between 2 from last I understood. So did we figure out which Joe Black this was?
That was Joe Black promo from Southern Honor Show number 70 back in February.
Okay.
That closed out that show.
That was the Austin Towers promo, correct?
Correct, yes. Excuse me.
I mean, for one, that speaks to Joe a little bit before I speak about the other ones as well. That speaks a lot to Joe that it took the committee and a bunch of us to do some digging to try to figure out which Joe promo we were actually talking about, because there were so many submissions that would say the Joe Black promo, the Joe Black promo. And we had to go look at them. And now we know which one it is for that one. The one Cruel had at Viral really seemed to make an impact out there. Jacob Ashworth and his whole turn now that was set off from the one he had there, I think it's going to be a whole new path for him. And then Matt Sells, who seemed like he has had a lot of pent up things to say, finally gets the chance to say it out there, and it's kind of turned a new leaf for him as well.
Yeah,
definitely. You don't really think of Matt Sells as I don't want to say he's a bad promo guy because he's very entertaining on the mic. But you don't really think about him giving those passionate promos.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for that to come out of him shocked a lot of people, and I think it's drawn some attention to him, like you said. Same thing with Ashworth. He's not really a big promo guy, but he's one of those guys that when he speaks, you listen because he doesn't speak that often. And I think, his it ripples through the Southern Pride Nation. So, I mean, you want to talk about impactful and which one really impacted that fan base the most, you can make an argument for all 4 of these.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget, Matt Sells was a former Male Performer of the Year. I believe it was for 2019. I could be wrong. I'm sure he'll let me know on that. But yeah, he does it in the ring, and then when he gets on that mic, he can go. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't want to say it's a bad promo at all because he's not. But like I said, sometimes people don't get to portray that emotion as much as they want to, and then when they get a chance, it's really shocking, and that's what happened here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure when he asked for a couple minutes with Mike time, or even maybe he didn't ask. I don't know the whole situation. I'm sure promoters and everybody out there are like, yeah, that's Matt Sells. That's fine. He's gonna probably talk about some cool thing he's doing or something, and then that drops. And that's what to me stood out about these four promos is that they weren't your normal promos you hear from these four guys.
Indeed.
Right.
Let's move on to the referee category. We had a lot of people send in for this one as well. We have. I apologize. I do not have Clark, referee Clark. Other name in
You
front of
could
me.
also refer him to, as Simon Sermon says, the hot twink referee.
For the sake of the show,
He will answer to that. I've seen it.
Yeah. For the sake of the show, then he will be the hot swing referee. Also,
Bennington,
I believe Clark's last name is pronounced De Benedito. I believe is how you pronounce his last name.
De Benedito. Okay, Clark De Benedito.
Yeah. So referee Clark.
Referee Clark. That's usually what I hear everybody say about him. Obviously, then there is Daryl Hall, otherwise known as Grandpa, or otherwise known as probably what we should just name this award after. And then the great Paul Santa as well, who I just saw a handful of hours ago. How do you guys weigh in on these three?
Well, as far as the people turning in nominations, Clark was hands down probably the most submitted nomination. Daryl was right behind him. But I think Clark got the most out of, in all the categories. Clark was mentioned the most.
Yeah, I've had the honor of working with all three of these guys, and if I wasn't on Clark's first show, it was one of his very first shows when he first started reffing. And sometimes somebody enters the ring and you just know that they're a natural at what they're doing. And that was Clark. And he picked it up so quickly. And not only that, he started putting in the miles, and it led to opportunities. He would go, to Southern Honor and help out with the ring. Next thing you know, he's in the match and part of storylines,
Mm-hmm.
So, what Clark's done's been just, very shocking. I don't want to say shocking in a bad way, but it's been very impressive for someone in just such a short time to make that big of a presence on the scene. And then you have, Grandpa, who, like you said, the award should be named after him, and Paul Santa, who, once again, arguably one of the best refs in the state. So this is going to be interesting to see how the voters turn out on this one.
And this is another category we could have easily listed 5 or 6 names for nominations. The talents of the referees, I think, in the state of Georgia, I'd match up to pretty much any state or even national companies.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a little bit of a spoiler alert, this is not the last time you're going to hear referee Clark's name tonight. Speaking of which, as we roll into Rookie of the Year, this was one the committee decided that 3 was not enough. We needed to put 4. And part of that reason is because referee Clark was considered one of the choices. You have JT Paradox, you have DRP, and you have Remy Reed. What do you fellas think about all this? Start with you, Rob.
Unfortunately, since I'm not in Georgia anymore, I do not get to see much of any of these. Only person I really have seen was DRP, based his Pro South, where he just won the Young Lions Cup. But he's doing the drives into Georgia, being around in Georgia, and from what I've heard, nothing but good things. He's teachable, he's learning, and he's improving.
Yeah, first time I saw DRP in person, I was just highly impressed with just the little things that he already knew, as far as just some psychology things and some things like that. I was very impressed with him. From the get-go. JT Paradox, you've been hearing his name for about a year now, just, a beast that, mainly wrestles for Bullpen and a couple other places. Isis Reed, she turned some heads when she won her first title this year. And, we already mentioned Clark. And for a referee to be up for rookie, that is a very impressive feat.
Verified error.
Yeah, I was about to say, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but he wasn't just put on there because he's a first-year referee and got a lot of referee votes. He got a lot of Rookie of the Year votes, right?
He did get a lot of Rookie of the Year awards. Breaking it down is mostly fan-based, but you take that into consideration, but you still have to take it into consideration. And so we made that adjustment to go to 4 to include referee Clark.
All right, let's see, where are we at? Let's jump to tag team. Something that, to be honest, was a little down in 25. Not saying the talent was or anything, but there wasn't as many teams traveling around as there usually was. But that didn't mean the quality wasn't there. The 3 that are up for the award are the Northside Heroes, Superstars, and Top Team.
Yeah.
Duke, did you cross
I do
paths with
have to make make one quick correction. It's Superstars. Yeah,
Superstars. Sorry.
Superstars. No ER. It's a super with an A.
Send all your hate mail to rob@gw8.com.
Right. Yes. But yeah, at Northside, I've been talking about them for years when I was living up in Georgia, and also the Superstars were just breaking in that then. Top Team had been around. Tag team / stable / faction. These guys, Superstars and Northside, if you see a match with either of those teams, you know that it's going to be a fight. And they will wreck your bodies to get that win. So, yeah, that's one thing I'm always excited to see in tag team, the drive to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you think about the tag teams in Georgia, these are the 3 that really come to mind right now. And, they're all, very athletic teams. You think of, a lot of times tag teams don't really have maneuvers where they work together. And that's not the case with these guys. They're very much synchronized tag teams. And, when I saw these 3, I was like, yep, that's it. Those are the ones that represent Georgia right now.
Yeah, definitely not teams thrown together. These are teams that mesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times, and it's what frustrates us all about some of the bigger promotions, the television ones, instead of using established tag teams, they use 2 random people they put together, and you just don't see that chemistry that you do when people feel like brothers or sisters in a fight. Right. Let's go with most improved. This was a highly debated category as well, but the finalists for most improved are AJ Black, Christian Taylor, and Tad Skywalker. And good luck finding a winner out of that. I think we should make a wrestle for it.
Right. Well, I've known Chad for over a decade, and primarily knew him as a high flyer, but his character work over the last 18 months, especially seeing him coming out of Coastal and then working it into other promotions, has upped his game in a way that you like to see. You knew he had it in him, you knew he had character, but he can get it across more. AJ Black, as stated on several commentating teams, 18 years old with 45 years experience. He has some fantastic minds who's raising him. Christian Taylor, I'm not too familiar with because he came after I moved out of Georgia, but the things I've been seeing about him, his promos, he's working the different promotions. It's fascinating to see.
Yeah, definitely. I've got to see AJ Black wrestle since he was like 14, and every year he gets better. But the leaps and bounds that he took in 2025 are just remarkable. He really proved to a lot of people that he could be the baby face of Georgia for decades to come. If not on the like bigger and better things. And Christian Taylor and Chad Skywalker, I think it's both situations where they were both good wrestlers, but it took a good gimmick to really get them noticed. Skywalker with the spy gimmick is, it's just loads of fun. And Christian Taylor with the psycho gimmick, I guess, of what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, his promos right
Psycho
now that he's putting out there are just remarkable. Yeah, it's some of the best stuff going on right now, just as far as individuals putting out promos. So, they've stepped up their game, not just for character work, but in the ring. This is going to be one of the toughest ones to vote for me personally.
I absolutely agree, because these are three people that I see on a pretty regular basis based on a lot of the shows I go to. And like I said, I would be better off just letting them wrestle for it instead of having to choose one of these. Luckily, they will not be able to see my ballot.
That'd be a good match. That would
be a good hell of a
match.
triple threat.
Absolutely. Let's go to
maybe there's
feud.
a booker out there paying attention.
Yeah. Hopefully there's more than one booker paying attention to this show, because not only are we fun, but this should be how you book a lot of your things. See what was working.
Right.
Let's go feud of the year. Boy, there were a lot of these. There were a lot were even suggested away from the ones that we put on the list here. But we have Matt Griffin versus Gary Lamb, Ilya Drago versus Brady Booker, The Crusade versus Todd Sexton, and Bryce Cannon versus Dax Anthony. Either one of you guys want to weigh in on these?
Well, it's Griffin and Lamb. Yeah, it's blood has been spilled, hearts have been broken, and it's a continuation of Matt Griffin versus everyone last year. Got very personal this year.
Yeah, definitely.
And also that was the Crusade
was
versus Sexton Alliance.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Lamb and Griffin, that's fun to watch. For a while they really hated each other. They probably still hate each other. But Matt Griffin claiming to be the kingpin, and Gary Lamb's ego. It was only a matter of time before they collided. And blood has been shed, but I don't think this one's done yet. Drago and Brady Booker. That's kind of been the one fall kind of been driving them. Bryce Cannon and Dax Anthony. That one's been going on for over a year. They planted seeds in that one for a long time leading up to it. And the Crusade against the Sexton Alliance. I mean, that's just good old fashioned Southern wrestling. I mean, it doesn't get much better. Much better than that as just a good Southern wrestling feud goes. So, once again, very tight competition, and everyone involved in this one should be honored.
Yeah, there's a few more that we could have mentioned, but we had to keep it to what we did.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, was when, in some cases you might have 8, 9, 10 great cases you could be made. You can't put that many on a ballot. It's just too hard to do. That's why keeping it to 3 or 4 seemed to work well. Let's go to probably, I thought, one of the most cut and dry ones of the entire page. Promotion of the year. You had One Fall, you had Viral Pro Wrestling, and you had Action. Duke, what do you think about these three?
I mean, it's hard to argue with these three. I mean, what One Fall is doing all over the state of Georgia, and we've already mentioned, some of their accomplishments with Center Stage and all of that. I mean, they're running everywhere. They're giving people opportunity to work. The boys want to work there. I mean, it's hard to argue with that. Action, the consistency of Action every year. Matt Griffin, always putting on shows, always gets national attention on those shows. It's hard to argue keep them off. And then Viral, I mean, the breakthrough year that they had. And, 2 years ago, if you would have said Viral was going to be the number one promotion in Augusta, I think most people would have laughed. But, here they are. I mean, they're drawing better than anybody in the state. They're putting on, great shows. They've stepped up their production. Definitely worthy of being on there for promotion. And at the same time, some of the regulars, Southern Honor, Southern Pride, Classic City, they're, not on there this year. So
Mhm.
a little bit of a
Yeah, and
changing
then
of the tide as far as promotions go.
and
Mhm.
another thing where we could put 10 promotions on here. It's a lot of good. Bullpen had a breakout year. But
Yeah.
it's just,
Mhm.
we wanted to keep it the lowest possible, and these we felt were the three best. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and,
Right.
and then next year it could be a whole entirely different three. That's the nature of the business and promotions in Georgia. If you look back, how many actually were repeat over the years? Very,
Mhm.
very few.
Yeah. And last year's winner, Coastal, they're not on there. And,
Mhm.
it's not because, they've slacked off or anything. They're going as strong as ever. It's just that, those other three just really have peaked and kind of taken things up a level as far as wrestling in the state goes this year.
I would say
Right.
that's a good way to put it. It wasn't just about having a good year. It's I would say those three better elevated Georgia wrestling a little bit more than the rest of them.
1A, 1B, 1C,
Yep.
1D, 1E, 1F. Flip a coin. There you go.
Absolutely. Let's go to I'll just stay right there. Promoter of the year. We have Scott Barnett from 1FW, Matt Griffin from Action, and what is the other one on the list? My
That
feed's
is
messed up.
Joshua Hancock of Viral.
Okay, there you go. And Joshua Hancock of Viral. Rob, anything about these three?
Well, if the top three promotions, you got the top three promoters. They did everything that they are supposed to do to get people butts every 18 inches, as the saying goes, and they did it. Again, 1A, 1B, 1C,
Mhm.
1D, 1E, 1F. We could have listed a bunch more on there, but they did the best job this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, it's no coincidence that, the top three promotions are being ran by the top three promoters right now. Um, all three did a fantastic job of promoting, and each of them promoting in kind of a different way.
Mhm.
Hancock doing much more of kind of the grassroots local kind of promoting, and everybody kind of doing their own thing, but it's working for them. They have found out what works for them, and a lot of times for promoters, that's the biggest problem is figuring out how to advertise that works for you. And as far as I'm concerned, those three have mastered it this year.
Absolutely. And that's what I tell promoters, and that's what I tell superstars when they ask. They'll see the list of awards, or they'll see this person or that person doing really well. And I was like, look at what they do, see how they're doing it, and see how you can twist it to work with your audience and where you are. You can't just automatically copy and paste something. It doesn't work that way.
100%.
Yeah.
But that I agree. If you take the top three promotions and the top three promoters happen to be with those promotions, that seems pretty cut and dry, easy right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mentor of the year. This was one that the committee decided that 4 was enough for this one. You have QT Marshall, you have Bull Buchanan, you have Sal Renaro, and
William Huckabee.
William Huckabee. For some reason, I could not remember his first name. And William Huckabee. How you guys see this one?
Huck was winner last year, I believe. But yeah, it's he's a little bit controversial. I get that, but you want to listen and go through that. Sal, getting close to 30 years in the business. If you better ask him questions, you better get that information. Bull Buchanan, same thing. Almost 30 years in the business on a national stage. And QT Marshall just got off of helping run a national promotion. You want to learn from all four of these men. If I was starting out, hell yes, I want to be listening to them.
Yeah, absolutely. If I was in a locker room and they were in there, they would be the ones I would seek out for advice. But it's not only that, these guys, they're the ones that will go out of their way to help the younger people. They will, they'll come in, they'll get to the shows hours early and stay late, just to talk wrestling, talk psychology, talk whatever they need to. They're the guys that are always available if you have a question or something like that. That's what, that's the people that nominated them for mentor, do that because they know that they can go to these guys, that they're always
And
there and they're always dependable.
And most of that was names submitted were from the people, not the fans, but the actual workers who submitted that more than the fans did. So we take that into account as well.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to Booker of the Year. We have Dylan Frymar. I believe it's Todd Sexton, right?
Todd Sexton.
And okay. And Bryce Cannon / Zach Mosley.
I mean, they're some of the best minds in Georgia right now. Todd booked Southern Fried amazingly. He knows exactly what buttons to push with that crowd. Seems like every year they find an angle to get hot and they make it peak at the right time. What Todd does every year is just so impressive there. I thought Dylan's booking this year at Southern Honor was some of his best work. I think with kind of the starts and stops with the building and other things going on, I thought it was some of his best work. I think the rise of Lev and the way they laid that whole thing out was just fantastic. And Bryce and Zach, the creative at Coastal is some of the most creative writing and wrestling out there. They do a great job, maybe better than anybody, of planting seeds throughout the year for their stories. Very long-term storytelling. So yeah, all three, once again, maximizing everything they could this year, and that's why they're at the top.
And both Todd and Dylan won this award in past years. Basically, the definition of Booker is making chicken salad of chicken droppings, and these guys have done the best.
Yep, absolutely. I always tell people card subject to change is not just letters at the bottom of the poster. It's what actually happens every show.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Let's go to Manager of the Year, as we have Richard Page, we have Justin Case, and Dylan Hales. Yep.
Yeah. Justin Case, mostly out of Kraken, but I understand he's working at other promotion. Rick Page is being a thorn in everyone's posterior across northern Georgia. And Dylan Hales. I don't think I've ever seen anyone who has gone to be so respected, to be so detested in such a short amount of time, and he managing the Action World Heavyweight Champion in Timothy Bosby, and not only in Georgia but in other states as well. That's what as a Jeff G. Bailey award winning, that would be a huge thing for the Jeff G. Bailey Manager of the Year.
Yeah, I agree. Richard Page, he's been doing the same for a couple of years up in the Royston area, kind of that corner of the state. He's ventured out. He's out in West Georgia now and just, completed a big angle with Xander Warwick that, his match was, one of the headline matches for Premier's big Christmas show. Just phenomenal work. I love watching Richard Page. If there was a category for most improved manager, he would be hands down. But his work this year has elevated him into that top tier. I believe he was nominated last year. But yeah, this year he every bit deserves to be there. He's putting out, some of the best work in the state. Justin Case down at Kraken, another guy who, a year and a half ago, you really didn't hear a lot about. But as Kraken built momentum, he built momentum. Probably no coincidence there. He's been part of some big payoffs at Kraken. definitely deserves to be there. And Dylan Hales, I mean, what's not to hate about Dylan Hales? Kind of shocking the way you said that, everybody used to love him. Now they hate him in action. Just good stuff. Just good wrestling. Big fan of Dylan Hales as well. This should be a fun category to see who wins this one.
And my condolences to anybody who is the presenter of this award, that you have to hand it off to one of these three people and what may happen afterward.
Right.
It'll be must-see TV regardless.
Absolutely.
Let's see.
And it will be seen.
Yes. We cannot confirm everything, but last I heard, there are some people on the underground working to put a show together again this year so that there's an actual place to present these awards to these amazing superstars and promotions.
Yes, I guess we can confirm there will be a live awards show. They're still hammering out details, location, date, time. Probably going to be a little bit different than in years before, maybe a little bit more laid back, but it should be a lot of fun. And if you've never been to the awards show, you deserve it to go. It's one of my favorite events to go to for the year. It is just so much fun to sit back with the people and give flowers to the ones who deserve it.
Networking.
Yes.
I have had many superstars ask me when the award show was because they want to meet the people that were just names on pages and were just names on videos. And I went to the one last year. I absolutely agree. I finally got to meet a lot of people that were just letters on a page until I met them.
Yeah.
Make some money out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You if you're in this business, you owe it to yourself to go. You will not regret it.
Even if you're not up for an award, go support your fellow people. I think we're to all the heavy hitter awards now, correct?
Ring announcer.
All right, you want to present that one?
Sure. Ring announcer, the defending multi-time champion Diana Michelle, who will probably have the award named after her at some point. Scott Hensley, Action Wrestling, and Kayla Cassiano. Is that how you pronounce her last name?
I believe so.
I've seen the name, not familiar with the work, but apparently she received a ton of nominations. So rightfully in there with the other two that are ring announcer royalty in the state of Georgia.
Yeah, Cassiano was brought up by I'd say about half of the committee, that immediately that was the first word out of their mouth before anybody read who was on what sheet, and they were like, look, the work that she's putting in, she needs to be on the list.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen her name pop up everywhere, which is always a good sign. So, you said, you go to the awards, you can finally put the name with the face and all that. Yep.
Well, Diana and Scott, what can you say about them? Well, you can probably say plenty, but make sure you say it to their faces.
I've been slapped by Diana. It's not fun.
Can't imagine it.
Right. Well, you probably deserve it.
I do.
But it's Scott brings a gravitas. Diana brings the oompa, and I think Kayla. I don't know too much about her. But her names is on a lot of people's thoughts and typing keyboards, and so good luck to her.
Yeah, I'll say this: your ring announcer matters. They make your show so much better. Diana and Scott, they instantly make your show that much better. Kayla has to be in the same category because she's regarded with those names as well. If you don't have a good ring announcer, get one for your show. It matters a lot.
Yeah, and I would implore people to look up Miss Cassiano, and you'll realize she belongs on this. And Rob, if I'm not mistaken, this was another one that could have went 7 or 8 or 9 deep as the committee tried to debate which 3 to put on here.
Jason Boyd. I love Jason. I've known him for 10 years, and he was nominated last year, and just we fought towards you, Jason, but we just had to keep it down. Jonathan Feltner,
Yeah.
just there's other people that I don't know, unfortunately, but John Johnson was doing some ring announcing. So there are Cheyenne Michaels that was doing some ring announcing. So there are a ton of announcers out there. This is one of those unfortunate cases where we had to keep it to three. And I hate to do that, but we had to keep it to three.
Yeah, I'll just say this. I've seen Jason Boyd for years like you. He's doing the absolute best work of his career. And so that just means that these three above him are just, just that it's a little bit better, just
Right.
enough to get a little bit more recognition. The bar is really high between the top ring announcers right now.
I will say that Jason Boyd is probably his sartorial splendor is probably the best in the Southeast. I will say
Yes.
that though.
Absolutely. And Michael Longino, we also discussed from Deep South Wrestling too. There's nobody that puts in the effort that he does. Like we said, we just can't put 10 people on a ballot. It just doesn't make any sense to do that. Maybe in an alternate universe, but not in this one. So now we're to the heavy hitter awards, right?
Yes. Heavy hitter.
Let's start with we're going to say heavy hitter, and then we're going to go with the technician of the year, otherwise known as the Kyle Matthews Award. Spoiler alert: Kyle Matthews is not on this list. We go Valerie Morales, we go Kevin Cantrell, and we go Adam Priest. What do you guys think about this trio?
Morales should have been mentioned multiple times in multiple years. It just unfortunate that in some of those years there were other people that was just that much more. I'm glad he's getting the recognition this year. Adam Priest is, I don't know if he and Kyle ever have a match, but if they did, I want to see film of that right away. Kevin Cantrell is new to me. I'm not familiar with his work, but that was another name that was mentioned by a lot of people.
Yeah, you think of technical wrestling in the Southeast, Adam Priest is the first name that comes to mind. Valerie Morales been putting in the work for years. Like you said, a lot of times just kind of slid under the radar. But I think he's, finally getting some flowers for, the work he's putting in. And, Kevin Cantrell, here's a guy who the South Georgia promotions call the measuring stick. I mean, that's how much they respect him in the ring. So I think he's really surprised a lot of people this year with, how much he's improved and, got a lot of love for technical wrestler.
Absolutely. And that's part of why these awards are put together too, is to try to recognize the people that are putting in the work and the people that you should go out of your way to go see.
Indeed.
Let's see.
Female?
Let's do male performer of the year.
Okay.
Male performer of the year. Trevor Aeon, Rosario Grillo, and Alexander Lev.
Yeah, performer for me is they entertain you in such a way. Aeon's work, I hate to harp on this, but knowing him over the years, it's face, heel, good guy, bad guy. If he's either one of those, you want to cheer for him or you want to hate him like nothing else. Grillo is fairly new, but the amount of, especially works more heel, but the amount of hate he gets at various promotions, you love to see that. Alexander Lev, this is going to put his ego in another stratosphere. His work, from me seeing him, I'm not going to bring that up. I won't bring that up. But yeah, it's his work is something else.
Yeah. Alexander Lev, just so impressive in the ring. that cross between Jimmy Rave and AJ Styles, just he does such good work, character work, in-ring work. The fans hated him when they're supposed to hate him. They love him when they're supposed to love him. Very deserving to be there. Trevor Aon, one of the most underrated wrestlers in Georgia, in my opinion. I mean, he's just plugged away
Very
for
underrated.
years. Is just an asset to any card. I've worked with him a bunch in the past. Very deserving to be on here. I'm glad that he's on there. And Grillo, I mean, kind of just playing up his gimmick a little bit over the last year, and it's been a lot of fun, and he's done a lot of good things. Especially at Southern Fried. He's been other places like Coastal as well. So, once again, very deserving to be on there. Maybe when I saw his name on there, I was a little shocked, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. He definitely deserves to be on there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the difference you guys will see soon for all of you watching this, that there is a difference in the way male performer or female performer and then overall is kind of graded. They are different awards for different things. Let's go to female performer. Finalists there were Hyena Hera, Jazzy Yang, and Angelica Risk. And I can speak that while I have not seen Hera in person, I have seen many of her matches via the internet. She is just incredible with the way she can work a crowd and the way things, and she can just dictate an entire match. Jazzy Yang is quite the belt collector, and you don't just get belts for being popular. You actually have to be good at what you're doing. And I've heard she's good at mentoring young talent as well. And then Angelica Risk, I have seen her on Ricardo's Mucha Lucha shows, and I have seen her all over the state doing all kinds of things. These are probably the three most best represented women's wrestlers in the state.
Yeah, I agree. I think over the last year, 18 months, these three have really just kind of elevated themselves a little bit above the rest of the pack of female wrestlers. Mm-hmm. You watch them wrestle for a while, and now it really seems like they've gotten their feet under them. They really understand what they're doing, and they're becoming assets to promotions. And mm-hmm. all three have put in just incredible work this year, and all three have done, like I said, they've been assets to everywhere they've been.
Yeah, and for award that was considered, might have considered to drop it several years ago, and the rebound for the female talent in the state has vastly improved over the last couple of years, and you like to see it. Some of the streaming chats that I go into often ask about female wrestlers in other states, and it's always been a point of contention. So to see the talent level increasing, the number of talent in the state increasing, that only bodes well for the future.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, this award was almost dead a few years ago, and it kind of became the Danny Jordan Award for a little bit. But the females all across the state have stepped up their game, and that's what's made these three step up their game as well. And they've just raised the bar for all the females.
Yeah, and this award, we would also have 5 names listed in it as well. So that was another thing. We had to narrow it down to just these 3 ladies.
Yeah, it was one of the hardest debates by far. Well, that leaves us with just one award left, I believe, and that is the overall Wrestler of the Year in the state of Georgia. And there are 4 people to vote on in this category here. You've got Joe Black, Elijah Drago, Hunter James, and Bryce Cannon. Once again, I think they should have to wrestle for it because I don't think we can pick a winner.
Right. Yeah, it'd be one hell of a match, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
especially. Go ahead, Duke.
I mean, all 4's names speak for themselves. I mean, Joe Black is, the best he's ever been. He's doing bucket list things in his career. and he's probably having the most fun he's ever had doing it. Um, you know, Drago, just a remarkable talent. I haven't got to see him live in person yet, but just everything I've seen, just remarkable in-ring talent. Bryce Cannon and Hunter James, I mean, the character work speaks for itself. The in-ring work speaks for itself. They get better and better and better every time they go out there in the ring. This one's going to be, this will probably be the closest award as far as the voting goes, in my opinion. I think people are going to have a hard time picking a winner out of these four.
And especially with Bryce coming back from that injury, not really having the full year, making things happen the way he has in a shortened year speaks so much for him. Hunter James, Hollywood himself, just the character work is something to behold. The in-ring work is something to behold. If you're starting a promotion and you're choosing one of these four men, you can't lose.
No.
You know, you've got a main event talent in these four men.
Yeah, definitely. And you talk about Bryce Cannon coming back from that injury. He had some big matches this year, and I think really impressed a lot of people on a national scene. And we know the three others have had national eyeballs on them for a little bit. So, the top, the cream rises to the top. The top of Georgia is really strong right now.
Oh yes. Again, another thing, we could probably add another, 2 or 3 names too as well.
Yeah. This was highly debated as well. I would agree. If you're starting a promotion, you need to get at least one of these four in there, and you should be okay. Man, I've seen people do similar strategies. And I've seen all four of them live, and I promise you, letters on a page and even videos on the internet do not do it justice to watch these four work inside of a ring.
Definitely.
But I guess we have reached the end of our list, right?
Yeah. Had a couple of a little bit of info I wanted to put out there before we wrapped up. Something new this year is there's going to be write-ins allowed on some, if not all, of the categories. So if you feel like somebody got snubbed for nominations, write their name in. If you feel like you got snubbed, start a grassroots campaign. If you really did, people will vote for you.
But not on all categories.
No, not on all categories, but from my understanding is ballot requests are open. gwhawards@gmail.com. Send a ballot request. They will verify that you're in the business. You need to be wrestler, manager, referee, booker, promoter, along those lines. The voting is not open to security. It's not open to concession workers. It's not open to ring crew. It's open to, people, within the business. The website will launch sometime this week. You'll receive confirmation into the website. And then voting will end 1 week from today. So it will end next Sunday night at 9 o'clock. So you have 1 week to vote, but make sure you send a ballot request to gwhawards@gmail.com.
And no dilly-dallying. If you lose, you snooze. No excuses. None. Zip. Zero. Nope. Zilch.
Yep. It is what it is. Well, I think that will wrap it up for all of us here. So for Duke Ingram, Rob Brodhecker, and me, Jeremy York, this has been the Georgia Wrestling History Finalist Reveal Show. And as Duke said, keep your eyes peeled, especially if you're somebody in the business, send in that email so that you can get your ballot to vote on. You have a calendar week to do so. Make sure you do so. If not, it wasn't our fault. But for everybody here and for everybody at Georgia Wrestling History, we will see you guys down the road. Go watch wrestling. Deuces, gooses.